Before we get started, we'll do quick introductions. My name is Luke Hostetter. I'm the Director of School Planning with Richmond Public Schools.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Plevich. I'm the Gifted and Talent Coordinator for Richmond Public Schools.
And Candace isn't here yet, so Andrew.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrew Bishop, Specialist School Planning.
Wonderful. Thank you. So before we dig into the content, I do just want to make a quick note about the technology we're using today. We know that many folks are familiar with Zoom and many folks aren't, and that's totally okay. As you can see on the screen here, this is kind of what your screen should look like. You'll see that there is a little thought bubble with 3 dots for chat. If you have a question throughout the presentation today, you can click that button and pop your question in the chat. We'll have time in the middle and at the end of the session to answer questions. Of course, you can also email us, and we'll get to that as well a little bit later, what our email address is. But the chat is that key function here for Zoom. Otherwise, you can just sit back and enjoy the presentation. A quick note of what we'll be talking about today. We're going to cover some general information on the application process. We will do a walkthrough, and Andrew's going to take us through a demonstration of the Enroll RPS portal and how one submits an application. We'll do a little bit of show and tell about some resources and spaces we have for additional information about this process. We'll then pause for question and answer, and then we will turn it over to the half of our team who manages the specialty school and governor schools processes, and they'll do a deep dive on what those schools have to offer and dig in a little more about the application process. As I mentioned a second ago, you can use the chat throughout to submit a question. You can also email us at enrollrps@rvaschools.net. And we are also recording this presentation, and we'll post it on rvaschools.net/enroll in the next day or so. So Richmond Public Schools conducts an annual cycle of applications, which is what we're here to talk about today. We have open enrollment school applications, which is an RPS school that doesn't have an application process for admission and where students can apply to attend as an out-of-zone student. So if I, for example, live in the Barack Obama zone, I can apply to other elementary schools as an out-of-zone student through open enrollment. The seats for open enrollment vary year to year based on that school's enrollment projections for each grade, compared with other factors such as building capacity and staff. I do want to note that new this year to open enrollment are the Lucille Brown Middle Years IB program and the Thomas Jefferson IB Middle Years program. Our STEM academies at Thomas Henderson and MLK are also open enrollment schools. The Patrick Henry School of Science and Arts is a charter for kindergarten through 5th grade students. It is a part of Richmond Public Schools. Previously, their application process was separate, but this year, their lottery process also lives in the Enroll RPS portal as a part of our application system. We also have specialty schools, which are secondary schools that have an application process for admission. We'll dig in a little bit later in more depth on what those are. But those are Franklin Military, Open High, Richmond Community High School, the IB Diploma Program at Thomas Jefferson, and the Governor's STEM Academy at Richmond Technical Center. And finally, we have regional governor schools. Each regional governor school has a process that's managed by a broader body, not just RPS folks. We do support the process for Richmond City residents who apply to Maggie Walker and Appomattox. The Code RVA school is also a regional school, but their application is handled separately by Code RVA. And we'll talk in depth about all of those schools later on in this presentation. Want to quickly note a few things that are new this year since we have made some changes since last year's process. As I said in the previous slide, Lucille Brown and Thomas Jefferson's IB middle years programs are now open enrollment. Previously, they had been application-based. The specialty school applications now leverage a common application, which makes it so that students only need to complete one short answer and essay and receive 2 recommendations for all of the specialty schools for which they're applying. Lynn and Candace will share a little bit more about that later. The governor school applications, as I shared, are now in the Enroll RPS portal, as is the Patrick Henry charter application. And we're really doubling down on the amount of resources and information opportunities we're providing for families, and we'll talk about that a little later. Before we transition to my colleague Andrew, who's going to do a walkthrough of the Enroll RPS portal, I do want to flag a few important things to keep in mind. One, the application process opened last Thursday and is open until Tuesday, December 1st at 4:30 p.m. All applications must be submitted by then, and we don't accept paper applications. Students can apply to up to 3 open enrollment schools, Patrick Henry if they're eligible for elementary school students, and any specialty in governor's school or program for which they are eligible. Again, applications have to be submitted online, and placement decisions for all schools, along with any associated next steps, will all be shared on March 5th, 2021. Finally, here's a good segue for our transition to the Enroll RPS portal walkthrough. The portal that we use for receiving and managing the application process is a secure system where families can complete all of their applications in one place. It allows folks to save and return to their work so that they can complete these applications at their own pace. It's also our enrollment platform. So if you are a new to RPS student family this year and enrolled, you might already be familiar with it. It's the same platform we used last year for the application processes. So if you apply to a specialty school or open enrollment school, this will look pretty familiar to you. And lastly, it is a product of the company Smart Choice Technologies. We just want to name this here that they are a leading school admissions organization. Last year, they served almost 5 million students in almost 7,000 schools. So they are a trusted and well experienced partner in this work. And the URL for that site is down there in blue, and we will certainly make sure folks know where they can find that throughout. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Andrew. So if y'all don't mind, I'm going to pause my share so I can transition my screen.
Hi, everyone. So as Luke starts the transition, I'd like to direct everyone to the chat box. I'm dropping the link to our enrollment portal, attendrvaschools.com, in the chat for anyone who would like to follow along as we are presenting. If you would like to just listen and watch as we go, please feel free to also do that, and we'll make sure that you have the link again at the end. So as Luke had mentioned, for anyone who is interested in completing school applications for open enrollment, specialty, or governor schools, you'll be going to attendrvaschools.com. And when you go there for the first time, you'll be taken to our login page. And there are 2 options that families will have. For families who have previously logged into the Enroll RPS portal, either for enrollment for the new school year or previously for open enrollment or specialty school applications last year, you can log back into your account on the left-hand side. To do so, you can input your email address or phone number, as well as your password. If you've forgotten either of these 2 things, you can go ahead and click the Forgot Your Password button or Forgot Your Email button, and you'll be prompted to input a little bit of information to help you retrieve that information. For families who are creating an account for the first time, you're going to be using the right-hand side of the screen under If You Do Not Have an Account. Here you can input basic information, your first and last name, your email address or phone number, as well as your password, so you can create a new account. One important thing to note is that you can select your preferred language here, and there are a number of different languages you can select. Once you've done that, you would go ahead and click Create Account. One last important thing to note is that there is a Select Language button in the upper right-hand corner. If you click that, you'll be able to translate any portion of the application into the language of your choosing. Anytime after you've created your account for the first time, or if you're logging back in, again, you'll use the left-hand side. And Luke is going to log in right now so we can walk you through what it looks like on the parent and family dashboard. For families who have just created their accounts or are logging in for the first time, you're going to be presented with this landing screen. And for families who do already have children attached, you'll have a slightly different process, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But for everyone who sees this screen, if you want to begin your open enrollment specialty or governor school application, you can go ahead and click the blue link labeled Begin a New School Application for school year 2021-2022. Once you do that, you'll have the ability to look up your student if your family is a current RPS student. You'll do so by clicking yes under the question, is this student currently enrolled in Richmond Public Schools? From there, you'll be able to input your child's student ID, their first and last name, as well as their birth date. And what this will do is it will connect your child's student record with your application. For families who are of students who are not currently RPS students or who have not yet started attending school, such as rising kindergartners, you can click no and proceed through the application as normal. We also have our requirements and policies listed. Please make sure to read through those so you understand all of them and click I agree before moving forward in the application. The first section of the application page is going to be a basic student information page. You'll put in information such as the child's first and last name, their sex, race, ethnicity, as well as their birth date, and a few other pieces of information that will be helpful as you're completing the application process. Two of the most important things for you to input, though, are your child's current school, as well as the grade to which they are applying. For families who have children currently attending RPS schools, please select the school that they currently attend. For anyone who attends a non-RPS or private school, please select Other, which will allow you to input additional information about that school. For children who are homeschooled, we do have a homeschool option. And for children who have not yet entered school, you can select None. The grade applying is very important because that will allow you to see the schools for which your child is eligible. So for students that are entering, let's say kindergarten, you'll be presented with elementary school options. For students entering 6th grade, you'd be presented with middle school options, etc. Finally, you'll be prompted to put in your home address. This is important because it allows our system to see which school you are currently zoned for. Through this application, you're only applying for out-of-zone or specialty schools, so you will not be able to select your own zone school. The second section of the application is the guardian information page. Here you're able to put in information about yourself as you're going through the application. Please note that you can also add a second guardian if you would like to include information for them as well. The third page is the school selection page. And again, the schools for which you are currently eligible based on grade level will pop up on this particular screen. So in this case, again, for our example, our child is a kindergartner, and we see that there are a variety of elementary schools that have populated on the screen. For open enrollment, you are allowed to select up to 3 open enrollment schools. And for those at the elementary level, you're also able to select Patrick Henry School of Science and Arts as an additional 4th option. For folks entering middle and high school, you'll also see our specialty and governor schools, as well as our career and technical program populate on the screen. You are able to select up to all of those in addition to your 3 open enrollment choices. And as you can see on the screen, each of the schools is labeled either open enrollment or charter schools or specialty schools, as we'll see when we do another example later. Once you've selected the schools to which you want to apply, you can continue through your application. The next section is going to be a sibling information section. To give you an understanding of why we're asking about siblings, for open enrollment, if a family has a child already attending a school via open enrollment, and that child will continue to attend that school in the following year, a new incoming sibling would be able to receive priority in the lottery. So to give you an example, say I have a 3rd grade child who already attends Barack Obama Elementary via open enrollment, and I now have a child who's going to be entering kindergarten this year. I want to make sure on my kindergarten child's application that I input my siblings' information. That way, as we're going through, we can make sure that they are properly prioritized in the lottery. One important thing to note, though, is that we do not take sibling priority into account for any of our specialty or governor schools. This is simply an open enrollment feature. A number of our schools will have school-specific information or policies and requirements that we want to make sure our families have prior to applying. So in this case, because Luke had selected Patrick Henry as one of our options, the Patrick Henry specific requirements pop up on the screen. For each of these sections, you'll either read or read and sign them. Please do so. And obviously, if you have any questions about them, please feel free to reach out to us. For our families applying via open enrollment, you'll be presented with the open enrollment agreement. This lets you know that transportation will not be provided through open enrollment and that families are required to provide transportation for attending an out-of-zone school. There are also a few other pieces of information located there, and you'll continue through the application once you've read it. The next portion is simply an optional opportunities section. At RPS, we're very interested in receiving feedback from our families because we want to make sure that we are providing options and providing resources and all kinds of different things to make sure that your experience in RPS is going well. If you're interested in being contacted about participating in interviews or focus groups to help us improve our open enrollment and specialty and governor school process, please select yes. If you are not interested, you can go ahead and select no. This does not have any impact on any of your applications. It's simply optional. At this point, we've reached our signature page. Essentially what the signature page does is it has you sign that the information that you've put on the application is accurate and complete to the best of your ability, as well as a few other policies just to make sure that you have them. The family will then go ahead and sign this page before moving on to the review. At this point, you'll be able to review all of the information that you've put on your application. If at any point you see something that you want to make sure you go back and change, or there's a spelling error or something like that, you can go ahead and click the edit button at the top of any section, or on the left-hand side of the screen, you can navigate back to a specific section by clicking it. For families who want to take a little bit of time before they submit their application, you have the ability to click the I want to finish later button, which should save and allow you to come back at a later point. However, for families who are ready to submit and are fully complete, you can go ahead and click the button labeled Submit My Application. Once you've done that, you'll receive this page, which lets you know that your application has been successfully submitted. We've also provided a link for an additional feedback survey. It's a short 3-question survey just asking you about your reasons for applying and experience with the portal. We would really appreciate it if you fill it out, but again, it's optional. And that's the process for completing an open enrollment application. Luke's also pointing out that we do have a print this page button if you would like to print it out. So I had mentioned before that for families who are coming back to the portal and who have previously used it and have children already attached to their account, the way that you would go about creating a new application for this year is by scrolling down to your child's name, and then by taking a look at that child's tab. So in this case, the tab that's labeled example, or the child's name, school applications. So in this case, we see that the child has already submitted the applications, and you can see the current status of them. For families who would be applying for that child, you would see a button that says Continue to My Child's School Applications. For families that have multiple children and who would like to start another application, there is a button under your children's name that's labeled Start an Application for Another Child, and you would begin the process again once more. Now, what we're going to do at this point is walk you very quickly through what it would look like for a child who is applying for either our specialty schools or governor schools to show you what those sections of the applications look like. Luke's going to go ahead and fill out some of that information. And again, for families who are applying for governor or specialty schools, the form is exactly the same up until the school selection point. So again, steps 1 and 2, the student and guardian information section will be the same. And at this point, Luke has completed both of those already. So in this case, we're going to be looking at a child who would be a rising 9th grader and has the ability to apply not only to our open enrollment schools, but also our governors, specialty, and career and technical education programs. So for the purposes of this example, Luke is going to go ahead and select Maggie Walker Governor School, as well as Open High School, one of our specialty schools, so we can see those portions. Again, in this case, Open High has one of those sections that we want to make sure parents have information about. You'll go ahead and read that section prior to clicking continue. Our governor and specialty schools require recommendations be requested for our students to apply. And what we do with this particular section called Right to Waive Access is it allows parents to either voluntarily waive the right of access to the information contained on the recommendation form or to not waive that right of access. Please note that whatever you decide is your own choice and has no bearing on your application, though please also be aware that recommenders will see the choice that you have made on this section. This year at RPS, we have made our specialty school application a common application. For all of our specialty schools, you'll be able to submit 2 recommendations, 1 short answer response, as well as 1 essay. For our short answer and for our essay, you'll be able to either type directly into the box or copy and paste your essay from either Microsoft Word or a similar word processing program. From there, you'll be able to request your online recommendations. You do so by clicking the Request an Online Recommendation button. At that point, you'll input the recommender's name and email address. You can also include a short message to that recommender. As soon as you click Submit, your recommender will be emailed, letting them know that you've requested a recommendation. For our specialty schools, again, you'll need to submit 2 recommendations, and Lynn and Candace will get into some more details about all of this later in the presentation. Each of our governor schools has a little bit more of a comprehensive application page. In this case, we see Maggie Walker Governor School has some school overview information as well as some specific residency guidelines for admissions that we want to make sure you have the opportunity to read through. Once you've gone ahead and read through all of the information at the top of the application pages, you'll be able to fill out a number of other questions at the bottom of the page. Additionally, for Appomattox Regional Governor School, there is an essay that is required. Lynn will touch a little bit more on all of that later. One other important thing to note is that our governor school recommendations are independent of our specialty school recommendations. So if you're applying to Maggie Walker, you'll need to request 2 additional recommendations. If you're applying to Appomattox, you'll need to request 2 additional recommendations there as well. And that basically summarizes our portal for everyone. And Luke, unless there's anything that I've forgotten or that you'd like to include, I think I'm ready to turn it back over to you. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for that wonderful, thorough demonstration. All right. Thumbs up if we can see my slide. Perfect, thank you. So before we get to Q&A, and thanks to the folks who have posed questions in the chat, we really appreciate it. And if other folks have questions, don't hesitate to put them there. We're not ignoring you. To those who have already asked them, we will get to them in just a second. Before we get to that Q&A, we do want to share a little bit more about the resources that are available for families about this process. There's really a lot going on right now in terms of new resources this year, but we want to take a minute to spotlight a few things. First off, rvaschools.net/enroll is really where we recommend families go if they're eager and interested in learning more about all of these applications processes. If somebody could throw that in the chat, that would be fantastic, and thank you. As you can see on this screenshot here, we have open enrollment frequently asked questions. We actually have a section of this page for each application type. So there's an open enrollment section with frequently asked questions, information about deadlines, where to learn more, etc. There's a similar section for Patrick Henry, for our specialty schools, and for our governor schools. The specialty and governor school sections have their own frequently asked questions pages. They also have sub-pages where you can learn more about each school, access application timelines, informational videos from those schools, and our governor schools have provided some additional information, particularly Code RVA, given that they manage their application process outside of the Enroll RPS portal. This next resource is also available on rvaschools.net/enroll, particularly in the school applications resource section, which is new as of this week. We have created a technical guide that you can self-navigate if you want a refresher or would just like to look at the platform, or excuse me, the Enroll RPS portal before you start the application process. It's going to look very familiar to all of the things that Andrew just walked us through, and is kind of a pick and choose self-paced way to learn about all the different features and functions that the application system has to offer. Finally, we want to preview something that is not yet live, but we're hoping will be live in the second week of November. We've heard from families that there's just a ton of information about Richmond Public Schools, but sometimes it can be hard to find information about all of the different options and opportunities that are available in one streamlined place. So we're creating a virtual school fair for folks to be able to peruse all of their different choices via the different applications processes and use as a springboard to learn more about all of the wonderful things happening across our division. So from there, I'm going to pause us, and I see we have a couple questions in the Q&A. Let me open the chat here as well. So let's see here. We're going to take some questions. I see, can I submit recommendation requests before we submit the application with essays completed? That is a great question. Specialty school folks, do you mind if I answer that? Or Candace, I see you unmuted.
You are perfectly fine. Go right ahead.
Great.
Please.
So yes, so you can submit those recommendations. And what you can do actually on that specialty school page in the common application is put just a placeholder text in those short answer and essay text boxes, like we'll return to later or essay coming soon, just for yourself as a mental reminder. Then you can enter the recommendation step, request those 2 recommendations, save your application at that step. Once you submit those the recommendations, it'll trigger those recommendations to the teachers that you selected. So they'll get those requests immediately, even though you haven't submitted the application yet. And you can either log back into the dashboard at a later time and copy those essays in, or you could do leave the dashboard up and the student could pop in and work on their essays there. So yes. I see another question. If your child is zoned for Lucille Brown, this is in the Q&A, would you still have to go through the open enrollment process for their IB program? That's a great question. And the answer is no. That instructional model is available to all students at Lucille Brown. So zone students are part of the IB program as well and do not need to apply to the IB program specifically via open enrollment. All right, well, we'll give another 15 seconds or so for folks to ask questions in the chat. Again, you can email us questions at enrollrps@rvaschools.net. And we look forward to hearing from you. At this point in time, we are going to transition to a deep dive on specialty schools and the regional schools. So Andrew and I are going to turn it over to our teammates, Lynn and Candace. If you were here as a prospective elementary school parent, or you know you won't be applying to the regional governor schools or the specialty schools, you're certainly welcome to drop off, though you are also certainly welcome to stay and learn more about these schools and their application processes. If you are popping off, we would love if you could take, which is becoming a theme, an optional 3-question feedback survey. We'd love to hear from folks and continually improve the work that we do. So Andrew has dropped that in the chat. I'm going to now transition. So Candace, I'm going to stop my share, and I believe I'm going to be turning over host duties to you, if that's correct. Perfect.
Okay, so while I am getting my screen shared, I just want to say welcome this evening. I am Candace Feeney Chaplin. I'm the manager of college and career pathways for Richmond Public Schools. Can I get a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Yes, okay. All right, so we are going to go into specialty school and governor schools. And Lynn and I will share the presentation at this point to give you more information about these opportunities.
So we just want to review very quickly. Thank you, Andrew and Luke, that all RPS elementary schools are open enrollment schools. They're all by lottery. You may choose up to 3, plus a 4th option would be the Patrick Henry School of Science and the Arts, which is a K-5 school. So if your students are in 5th grade, you will not choose that as an option. All RPS middle schools, with the exception of Franklin Military, are open enrollment schools by lottery. And then the following comprehensive high schools are open enrollment schools as well. Armstrong High School, George Wythe High School, Huguenot High School, John Marshall, and Thomas Jefferson High School are open enrollment schools, with the exception of the diploma program at Thomas Jefferson for 11th and 12th. So we have specialty schools and regional governor schools. And the specialty schools are primarily smaller campuses to enrich your students with rigorous college preparation, career preparation, leadership opportunities, and community service. Most of the students that attend Richmond Community High School graduate with an advanced diploma, and as well as they do at Open High School. Our regional schools are the governor schools. We participate into Maggie Walker Governor School for Government and International Studies, and Appomattox Regional Governor Schools for the Arts and Technology. They each have their separate application process, but it's in the portal. Our 3rd regional school is Code RVA, and what determines the direction of the Code RVA and all the other schools is that we participate in a consortium of many other districts that support those schools.
So in addition to our specialty schools, we have special programs. Code RVA, Lynn just mentioned, they do have an application process for their lottery, and they run that process separate from our Enroll RPS portal. There is further information available about that on our Enroll website. In addition, we have the Governor STEM Academy at the Richmond Technical Center. The Governor STEM Academy application is part of our Enroll RPS platform, and students can apply for that when they're going into the 9th grade. That program happens simultaneous to enrollment at another school. So for example, a student could go to Huguenot High School and also have applied to RTC, and if they're accepted at the RTC Governor STEM Academy, then they spend part of their day at the Richmond Technical Center and part of their day at Huguenot.
And so with our specialty schools and governor schools, all applicants must reside in the city of Richmond. It can be an RPS student, it could be a private student, but they must show residency before they accept the slot or the offer. We are providing, our specialty schools are going to have common applications and common recommendations and a common essay, which we will get into a few slides later. So successful completion of these applications does not mean that you've already registered for the school or have been offered. It's just to submit on time, and all of our applications, except for Code RVA, open on October 22nd and they close on December 1st. So it's very important that you have your recommendation from your teachers as far as their email addresses, although they are giving a grace period to get them in by December 15th.
So talking about the recommendations, as Lynn indicated, we have features of the application that are common among the specialty schools. And when we're talking about the specialty schools, we're talking about the RPS specialty schools, Open, Franklin, and Richmond Community. So for these recommendations, you need to have 2 recommendations for those specialty schools. And those 2 that you have are the same 2 that you'll use for all 3 of those if you were to, for example, apply to all 3 of those specialty schools. For the governor's school, there is a separate recommendation required, so you will have to have additional requests for recommendations for the regional governor's schools. But for the specialty schools, the 2 recommendations that you have serve for all of those schools. In terms of those application recommendations, often we get a question about the waiver. The waiver of that application of access to that recommendation is completely at the family's choice. It does not impact negatively in any way your application if you were to choose not to, though we do recommend that you do choose to, so that the teacher can feel comfortable in knowing that they're going to give a recommendation that's based on the strengths and the growth areas of your student, and that they can feel confident in their ability to do that. When you make a request for a recommendation, that request goes out to that person's email immediately. So even before you submit your application, that request goes out to that recommender. And a teacher can choose to say no to that recommendation, which is why we suggest that you are sure to communicate with the recommender that you're going to ask for this, and make sure that they know that you want them to be able to provide a strong recommendation that really looks at the student's strengths and their area of growth, so that the schools have that to review and reflect upon as they're assessing applications.
The governor schools that we support are Maggie Walker Governor School. We have 204 Richmond Public School students there from 9th through 12th grade. It depends, slots depend on how many seniors graduate or transfer out. We approximately will have almost 50 slots this year. Out of the applications last year, we received, I believe, 235 applications, and we had 45 slots. Appomattox Governor's School is supported by 14 school districts, and we have 74 students there from 9th through 12th. And it is based once again on how many seniors graduate and how many do not return. And last year we had 18 slots and 113 applications. When you apply to Appomattox Governor's School, you have to select a focus area. Your focus area could be dance, it could be literary arts, music, technology, theater arts, or visual arts. The components for the audition are built into the application, and they are also on our website along with videos and supporting information. So if you go to the Enroll RPS website, you'll see all the information that you need for Appomattox and for Maggie Walker. Maggie Walker, and the criteria this year for ARGS is an essay that's embedded into the application. 2 recommendations that are 5 points each, one from each teacher. Or now the difference with the recommendations, your Rec B can be from a teacher that is not an RPS or a private school teacher. It could be a teacher that is a dance teacher. It could be somebody who knows that the child's focus area is very strong. So keep that in mind for recommendation B. Transcript is 15 points. The rigor is 5, and we can go over that at a later date, or you can email me, or it's on the website how we determine that. And then the audition is 50 points. Now with Maggie Walker, like I said, we have 204 students. School serves students based on aptitude, interest in their mission. It's supported by 13 school divisions. And it is, like I said before, students for both Governor's School, this is very important, have to be enrolled in Algebra 1 or a higher math. And so that is the only prerequisite for Maggie Walker and for ARGS and Richmond Community as well. So if there are any questions, please put them in the chat. Also visit our website through Enroll RPS.
All right, so next we have the Governor's STEM Academy at Richmond Technical Center. The Governor's STEM Academy is, as I said earlier, a program that students who are in the 8th grade can apply to for the 9th grade. It is a program that happens concurrent to their enrollment in whatever school they go to. There are 2 trains of work for that. One is therapeutic services, so that's like the health sciences, and the other is engineering. We're going to show a video that gives you some more information about the Richmond Technical Center STEM Academy, the Governor's STEM Academy. So lots of really interesting things that students get to do when they are at the Governor's STEM Academy at the Richmond Technical Center. Certainly, if there are any questions that you have about that, please put them in the Q&A and we will definitely answer them at the end of our session. In addition to the Governor's STEM Academy, we have the IB Diploma Program. The Diploma Program is for 11th and 12th grade students. Students who apply to the Diploma Program apply in the 10th grade as they're going into the 11th grade. For all other areas of IB, that is part of the curriculum of those schools, Thomas Jefferson and Lucille Brown. And so for that middle years program, there is no application. Students simply either are zoned to that school or they choose to try to attend that school through the open enrollment lottery. But for the diploma program, it is application based. The academics in the diploma program are very rigorous. Students have the opportunity to earn college credit through their courses with the IB program based on how they do with their final testing and some other requirements from International Baccalaureate. And one of the really great things about IB is that because it's set in a comprehensive high school, students have access to all kinds of regular comprehensive high school organizations and activities that students really enjoy, while at the same time seeking to make the world a better place through the IB curriculum. All right, so Franklin Military Academy is next. And with Franklin Military Academy, we'll go ahead and start with their video. I actually will start us halfway through their video. The extended form of their video will be available on our website, but we want to really focus on some information that's important to you. Not that all of it isn't, but that will pique your interest as you're learning about this program.
In Franklin Military Academy because once I saw what struck me most was the uniform. I like uniforms. I like dressing up basically, but the uniform it makes me feel more in place.
Welcome to Franklin Military Academy, home of the Knights. My name is Colonel Carlton Day, the Senior Army Instructor here at Franklin Military Academy. Let me tell you a little bit about Franklin. Franklin was established in 1980 as the very first military academy. Some of the things we pride ourselves on is leadership, character building, community support, academics, and teamwork. My name is Sergeant First Class Jefferson, and here at Franklin Military Academy, we pride ourselves on the 7 Army values, which is leadership, duty, respect, selfless service, integrity.
I'm a member of the National Honor Society, Royal Knights, and Royal Guard.
My name is Sergeant First Class Leon W. Thornton. I am currently the 11-1 instructor or 9th grade instructor for Franklin Military Academy. I'm here to talk about the teams for the middle school and high school. I will start with middle school first. In the building, we have softball, flag football, basketball, cheerleading, and a host of other teams here in the building. In reference to high school, any you will go to your zone school to play any sport you would like to play. As far as the JRTC is concerned, we also have our teams, the Raiders team, the color guard, the drill team. We have now incorporated an archery team and a drone flying team. So at Franklin, you get a host of things that you can do after school. So come on down. Let us show you what we can do here at Franklin Military Academy.
We're very big on community service, and just the fact that we can help is what we got.
Like helping the community.
It makes you feel like you've done something to help somebody.
I'm so proud of them. They're an awesome group.
The type of generosity and kindness of the heart that we learn is something that will stay with us forever. I've seen people who've come back with the same generosity and kindness in their heart that they've learned from being at Franklin, so this is long lasting. So the kids were just so into it, and they made it fun for me. The rest didn't.
Smile on a kid's face or a mother's face that didn't know how they were going to provide for their child. So thank you guys so much.
Most of all, just having a heart. Bringing in more coaches. Hello, my name is David. I'm the principal here at Franklin Military Academy. I'm going to start off first by welcoming all of the young people that are applying for Franklin. To get into Franklin, there's 5 major things that we need to make sure that you put in your application and have when you turn it in. Make sure you have your attendance, your 2 recommendations. You're responsible for having a group interview, and that information will be sent to you at a later date. Your standardized scores and your transcript. If you have any questions about anything pertaining to Franklin Military Academy, please do not hesitate to give me a call at 804-780-8526. Thank you.
So that is a little bit about Franklin Military Academy. And just to kind of round out that information, Franklin Military Academy is the very first military academy in a public school setting. Students do have military style discipline. They learn that as part of what they do at Franklin. Their teacher to student ratio is about 15-1. And all students are enrolled in the military sciences courses while they're in there, and they're encouraged to participate in all types of other cultural experiences. And for the most part, students who go to Franklin stay at Franklin. Most students who come stay for the duration, and you can begin as a 6th grader, so applying from 5th grade to 6th grade. Or you can begin as a 9th grader applying from 8th grade to 9th grade. The principal from Franklin mentioned some pieces that you need to have in your application. And some of those pieces are pieces that you don't have to worry about gathering. Some of those are pieces that we will gather on our end in terms of the data that we look at in the application process. So things like your grades and your standardized test scores and your attendance are all things that we handle. The only things that you're responsible for are the things that are listed in the Enroll RPS portal for you to complete in order to have a complete application. So next we're going to talk about Open High School, and we will cue the video for Open High.
This is Open High School. We're an alternative high school here in Richmond with so much to offer. High school can seem a little scary at first, so we want to do everything we can to make it a safe place for you. There are lots of students here that want to share their experiences and stories with you.
When I was little, the idea of high school was pretty daunting, but when I graduated from my elementary school, my neighbor started his 9th grade year at Open, and from that point on, after hearing about it, I realized that that's the place I always wanted to go. And then once I finally got that letter in the mail, it's probably one of the best feelings I ever had. I spent like the best 4 years of my entire life here, so I'm really thankful for that.
Open because we have such a great support system, and you can always go to any of the teachers or even students or in your classmates for support, and some people are always there for you, and you always have somebody to lean on.
Open is like a second family to me. When I can't talk to my family at home, I come to the staff and they always help me out.
I like the freedom that we get here. I like how independent it is. I like how we can kind of get an assignment and then get another one, but like we work on our own pace here. Kind of like that free spirit vibe. It's really chill here. You know, it just gives you room to grow as a person.
So what I like about this school is that it's small, so you get to know everybody personally and you can build like good relationships with them and like have more trust than you would at a normal school.
Makes Open High so special. Between peers and teachers and the staff, we make one big family. We are open.
I'm open. I am open.
I am open.
We're open. Welcome.
All right, and that was Open High School, which is very close to my heart because I spent a lot of years there, and they are led now by Clary Carlton, who is the principal at Open High. In addition to the information that was shared, just to bring that all together, Open High School is all about student leadership, student engagement, and the students' ability to impact their school, their city, and their world, and helping students to develop the confidence to do that in a global society. Next, we have Richmond Community High School.
Richmond Community High School is
Trailblazing,
Open-minded.
committed, kind, inclusive,
innovative,
and that was Richmond Community High School. Richmond Community High School, again, is one of our really special, unique opportunities in RPS. And in terms of their focus, there is a rigorous college-driven achievement focus for students and staff, as well as a focus on student leadership and students having ownership of their future. All right. So Lynn, do you want to talk a little bit about how families can learn even more about each of these schools?
Sure, I'm just so excited about those videos, and I wanted everybody to know there are more videos on the Enroll RPS site, as well as all of these videos may be shared again with students in your buildings, with your families at home, at any time, any place. So we're really excited about that. As you can see, we are family and we are RPS. So we have specialty school nights, and the links are in our Enroll RPS website as well. So Appomattox Regional Governors Schools, we hope that everybody will attend on November 5th. Maggie Walker Regional Governor School is also having 3 nights that you can go either night. So if you see something that is double, like I look at Open High School on November 9th, they're having their open house, then you might choose another night to go to Maggie Walker, so you can go to both. Thomas Jefferson IB Diploma Program is November 11th. These are all virtual open houses with panels and their videos, and we hope that you'll go out there and learn more about their school. Richmond Community High Schools, November 12th. Franklin Military Academy is November 16th, and most of them start at 6:30, but that's on our website as well. Code RVA had October 28th, but they're having another one on December 1st. Now with Code RVA, their applications do not open till January 4th, and you need to go to coderva.org to learn more information, or go to Enroll RPS to our website, and we have all that information and a link right to Code RVA. We're really excited to offer these programs, and we're excited to have so many wonderful guests in attendance. And I just want to mention that we have Representative David Hudson, Colonel Hudson from Franklin Military, Principal Clary Carlton from Open High School. Richmond Community High School is represented by Kenya Massenberg and Bernita Williams, the counselor. Maggie Walker Governor School, we have the Associate Executive Director, Dr. Wendy Ellis here. We have representatives from Appomattox, James Stone King. Dr. Brendan Alvin is the Executive Director. TJIB, Sharita Sears is the principal. Melissa Johnson is the IBDP coordinator. Code RVA, Dr. Kume Goranson, and I've spoken to Dr. Robert Stevens and Jason Vest, who are representatives from Code RVA. And this is Governor STEM Academy at RTC. We have Principal Jonathan Mitchum, Assistant Principal Alita Smith. So if you have questions, please put them in there, and if we can't answer them, we'll find the experts that are in the audience to answer them.
Right. And as we said in the middle of the presentation, we love your feedback and how we could do a better job of sharing this information with you, or making this process simpler, easier for you. So please post a question in the Q&A if you have a question for right now. And you can also chat with us via email at enrollrps@rvaschools.net. And if you would also consider taking an optional 3-question survey, I will pop it into the chat as well. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can do that. All right, Lynn, do you want to start looking at the Q&A and see if there's any questions in there for us? Lynn, you're on mute.
Grace, folks, sorry about that. Are the ARG spots more or less evenly split between focus areas, or does that depend on what majors Richmond City kids are graduating or leaving from as well? Great question. Usually the ARGs will give us a breakdown of focus areas they need. We're always going to have at least one or two from each focus area, the top two, and primarily because of auditions and transcripts. But that's a great question. It depends on the needs. For 1 year, if they have a multitude of visual arts students, they're going to say to the bigger school districts like Petersburg and Chesterfield, please send us 2 visual arts students. If they need dance students, they're going to say we need more dance students. But we're always going to fill every focus area. We might fill some more than others with more slots. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. The next question says, does Open have a special education team? Open does in fact have a special education coordinator that is a staff member at Open High School. And just as FYI, whenever a student has a need for accommodation, whether it's a 504 or an IEP, any of the needs that a student may have, also if a student has a language need, those needs follow the student. So those needs then increase, or those resources increase at the school based on the population of the school at any given time. Those are the only 2 questions that I see. So we answered that one live, and we answered the focus area one live.
And I think Dr. Ellis has answered one in our chat. Let's see if I can find it.
It looks like there's a question in the Q&A that just popped in about assessments.
So the question is, how much weight is put on the student's standardized tests when determining if they would be a good fit? That question is very much dependent upon the school. Each school has its own admissions team that works within the rubric of that school for their admissions. In some places, it is evenly distributed across all areas, and some places might have a heavier weight for one thing versus another. So that is a really good question, and you'll probably be able to get more detail from that, about that at a specific school that you are wishing to apply to for that particular question. And that is correct in the chat. Maggie Walker will not have standardized testing this year, and that standardized testing is not a test like MAP. It is a in-person standardized test, and they are not doing that this year because of COVID-19.
Yeah, that is correct. And that would be 35 points as far as weighted out of 100. And so that will not happen this year because most of the students would have to come in face to face. And we are not opening the campus.
All right. So I'm going to look through the chat again to see if I see any additional questions.
I did want to mention that we are in the process of building a technical support page and resources. Luke, did you want to say something about that?
I think I had spoken about that during the section on the website. Did you want me to cover it again, Lynn?
No, I just wanted to make sure that they knew that they could go there if they needed to find any rubrics or information about criteria, that it's being built.
So I found another question, and it says, do the recommendations have to come from an RPS teacher? For ARGs, earlier Lynn mentioned the fact that having your particular area and someone who works with you with that area is a possibility for one of those recommendations for ARGs. For our other schools, our specialty schools, we really would like it to be someone that has worked with your child academically over the last couple of years. So if you're in a private school, of course, that would not necessarily be an RPS teacher. But ultimately, we're trying to get a feel for how your student, what strengths your student has, what areas of growth that they have. And the questions are primarily academic focused, so it would need to be a teacher.
And keep in mind, those teacher recommendations for specialty schools are common. So when the teacher does it, fills it out, it's good for Open High School, Richmond Community, and Franklin Military, and TJIBDP.
All right, so we're going to hang around here. We are scheduled until 6, and we are happy to answer any questions that you may have. But if you don't have any further questions and you can see that the bit.ly, the feedback survey is there, you could go out and do that for us if you like. Or you could exit if you wished as well. But we will hang around for a little while longer just in case there are any further questions.
I just wanted to say to the panelists and to everyone here that I did hear from a few parents today, and they were really excited about the application process this year and how smooth it was. So thanks to our technical people behind the scenes that are on this panel tonight. We really appreciate all the work that went into it.
I see that there's a question about twins with specialty schools. No, there are no preferences with twins with specialty schools. There is a sibling piece with open enrollment, but not with specialty schools.
And I do see a question in the Q&A. So would a teacher need to write 2 separate recommendations for a student if the student is applying to ARGs and open, for example? Yes, the specialty schools are Richmond Public Schools. The regional schools have separate application requirements, and so we want to keep that distinct and make sure that recommendations are done exactly the way they are done across multiple districts. So yes, they would have to write a separate recommendation. The recommendations are fairly simple. They're checklists. It's not a narrative. So it should not be a chore. Thanks for the question. Good question.
All right, if we don't have any more questions, I think we're going to go ahead and end the meeting. So thanks to everyone again. And if you have questions, you know how to reach us. And we hope that you have a wonderful evening and a great rest of your week. Thanks so much.